As the Great Depression was ending, another world war was beginning. The 1940s culture, much like the 20s and 30s, continued to utilize entertainment as an escape from the banal realities. Hollywood was at the forefront of entertainment, producing hundreds of films for the public. Alfred Hitchcock was a filmmaker who mastered the ability to manipulate emotions acquainted with fear, creating an entirely new cinematic experience that would change the way films are made and viewed.
I think he should understand the psychology of audiences. He should also know that audiences love to enjoy the very thing that they have built in, and that's fear.
Alfred Joseph Hitchcock was born in Leytonstone, England on August 13, 1899 to William and Emma Hitchcock. He was the youngest of 3 children. Hitchcock's father was a greengrocer and raised Alfred in an unorthodox and severely strict manner, even sending Alfred to jail for a night at age 5 for being ill-mannered. This caused a dark fear that would be embedded inside of Alfred for his entire life. At the age of 21, Hitchcock entered the film industry by drawing titles for a silent film production company that would later become Paramount Pictures. Later, in 1939, he made the move to Hollywood to further pursue a career in filmmaking. In his first year in America, he directed the Academy Award-winning Best Picture of 1940, Rebecca. He then went on to create over 50 successful feature films. The art of motion pictures existed 50 years prior to Hitchcock's rise to fame. Motion pictures were solely a means for thrills and laughter, often depicting supernatural-themed stories. These films, although entertaining, were superficial and lacked emotional depth. It wasn't until Hitchcock's theatrical release of Rebecca in April 1940 where audiences were pleasantly surprised to view a realistic depiction of characters that felt real and acted within plausible situations. Not only did the film feel real, Hitchcock incorporated something never before seen or felt in a cinematic experience. Horror films had been made several years prior to Alfred Hitchcock, but Hitchcock's approach to the genre completely revolutionized it. What made it so different comparatively to what had already been made was the realistic aspects his film centered around. Urban crime, murder, mental disorders, harmful deceit, all these things were real-life scenarios, and that's what frightened audiences the most. Also during this time in the later 1940s, the Red Scare was present, especially in Hollywood, as several filmmakers were being accused of being a communist. Hitchcock thrived off of the fear and created films such as Notorious, Suspicion, Saboteur, and Shadow of Doubt. He continued to captivate audiences, but most of all he continued to frighten them.
But sometimes you find that a film is looked at solely for its content without any regard to the style or manner in which the story is told. And after all, that basically is the art of the cinema.
Hitchcock's method of visual storytelling is quite simple when put in perspective. His primary goal was to make the audience feel a part of the story. He achieved this by strategic camera movements and angles that caused the viewer to feel the emotion the actors were portraying. The 3 essential shots Hitchcock used to create maximum suspense were first, the point of view shots, where the audience would be shown exactly what the actor is looking at. Second, facial close-ups, where the actor's face tells the audience the tone of the scene and the overall emotion. Finally, the objective shot, where the camera would move within the scene to give the audience crucial information on who the character was as a person, rather than using dialogue. Hitchcock's theory of suspense was rooted in the bomb theory. This theory's premise is that if the audience is watching a film and actors are conversing in a scene and suddenly a bomb explodes, the audience will only receive a brief feeling of shock.
Now take the same scene and tell the audience there is a bomb under that table and will go off in 5 minutes. Well, the whole emotion of the audience is totally different because you've given them that information.
The most important rule of this theory, Hitchcock said, is giving the audience relief at the end of that 5 minutes, and the bomb must never go off. Hitchcock was ambitious with all of his films, in the sense that because he was making films that exploited murder, sex, and violence, he had several limitations when creating such a film. He received accusations that claimed him to be insensitive and lacking moral censorship. Hitchcock's films were known for nearly crossing the line of acceptability of the Hollywood film production codes that contained a long list of restrictions of what can be shown and not shown on the silver screen. These codes were strictly enforced by the MPPDA, or the Motion Picture Producers and Directors of America. Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 masterpiece, Psycho, was almost banned due to its violent premise and nudity. But Hitchcock, being the genius that he was, edited the film in such a way that he managed to maneuver around the code's criteria. Also, in Hitchcock's 1946 film, Notorious, he was able to get around the 3-second kissing rule by having the actors break off every 3 seconds. The scene lasts 2.5 minutes. Very few individuals in history can say they had a successful 50-year artistic career. Hitchcock is one of those few individuals, but what is even more remarkable is his sphere of influence that has stood the test of time. Many thrillers and horror films today are based off of Hitchcock's techniques and plot devices. Several remakes of classic Hitchcock films have been made, such as Psycho, 1998, The Lady Vanishes, 1979, Rear Window, 1998, and the list goes on. Not only have there been remakes of Hitchcock films, but spin-offs and reimagined plotlines created by present-day filmmakers. For example, American Psycho, 2000, Disturbia, 2007, What Lies Beneath, 2000, and most recently, the television series Bates Motel that began in 2011. Alfred Hitchcock is rightfully known as the most influential director in film history, and his work will be admired, enjoyed, and imitated for generations to come. Film as an art form would not be where it is today had it not been for Alfred Hitchcock's incredible storytelling abilities.
We're only human. We do go in for these various emotions, call them negative emotions. But when all these are removed and you can look forward and the road is clear ahead and now you're going to create something, I think that's as happy as I would ever want to be.